Hey everybody, my name is Roger Daviston. I'm a personal development coach. I help people think differently so they can change their behavior, because usually up here is our biggest problem, how we think. And in today's video, I want to talk to you briefly about a spiritual principle called strongholds and what they are and why they hinder you. So if you're being hindered, this video will probably help you, so stand by and hang on. So if you look in the dictionary, you'll define the word stronghold by being a strong place, a place of security, a place of safety. And, our homes are strongholds. I'm sitting here in this beautiful home, and it's a safe place for me. And it's a place where I come to be nurtured, supported, and rest, and to be restored and rejuvenated. It's a very important part of our lives, is to have a comfortable home where you can feel safe. Well, a stronghold can be mental also. The secular world, if you went to a seminar, Tony Robbins seminar, any other seminar, they talk about belief systems. Belief systems are ideas that you have in your mind that you believe are true. Beliefs may or may not be true, but beliefs can be strongholds. And I want to talk to you about beliefs from a spiritual perspective, because these things can hinder you, and you have to grow at different levels. Not only do you have to grow at the level of your belief system, but you need to grow spiritually. We're going to talk this morning a little bit about that. I'm going to read to you something out of the New Testament that Paul wrote. And here's what Paul said. Paul said that we are in a war. And we are in a war, but the war is invisible. And the war is about your mind. And can be other things too, but the war is a spiritual war. And here's what Paul said. He says that our weapons that we use to fight this war are not weapons of the world. So this war that we fight on a daily basis has nothing to do with guns and tanks and rockets and missiles. But our weapons that we have divine power to demolish strongholds, things and ideas in your head that you think are true that aren't. And we demolish these arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. And we take captive every thought we take captive and make it obedient to Christ. So here's what I want to tell you about strongholds. You got to take all of these thoughts in your head, and if they go against what God says, they're not true, you got to tear them down. Couple of little small examples in my life when I was a kid. I wanted to be a meteorologist, and Mother took me to the weather office when I was 13, 14 years old, and I would just hang out there and read the teletype machine. Back in that time, it was 1974, 73, and they didn't even have computers, nothing. And radar would come across a piece of paper, and it was black and white. I'd watch the radar print out on a piece of this weird paper. It was almost like burlap paper. It had a consistency to it. Satellite pictures were just pictures. They would come out, and they would put these pictures on a circular table and turn a strobe light on, and they'd watch a movie, because it'd have pictures every 10 minutes. You could see the movement. I'd go in the room and watch it. It was interesting. So it was way before technology. But here's the spiritual principle. With God, all things are possible. And if God was calling me to be a meteorologist and a weatherman, all things are possible. Well, I asked them, later, those professionals that worked at the weather service, when I got about 17 or 18, because I kept going, hey, how much money do you make if you become a meteorologist? And they said, well, you go to college for 4 years, you might want to get a master's degree, you come out, you get a job here at the weather service, you probably start out about 20,000, you probably max out about 30. And I thought, man, that ain't gonna work, I believed him. Wasn't true. Meteorologists do very well financially. He just didn't, and he didn't see it. But things changed. There are meteorologists that work for TV stations that do really well. And you can start your own business. All kind of possibilities, because God says, what's the rule? With God, all things are possible. Everything's possible at the quantum physics level. Everything has a probability, and everything's possible. And if you give it faith, substance, and evidence, start focusing on things with God, all things are possible. You're not going to break physical laws of nature. You're not going to be able to, what goes up comes down. But if you know something about higher laws, you can. So if you want to jump off a building without a parachute, you're going to die. But if you put the parachute on, there's some laws of aerodynamics, you're going to be fine. You've seen the guys that fly down the mountain, they got the suit on, they know something about a law of aerodynamics that overcomes laws of gravity. That's how we fly airplanes. But you got to be careful what you believe. There was something else that I believed because I was told it, and I just believed it because it comes from my parents. I also had aspirations as a young child to be a pilot, an airline pilot. Well, I don't have good vision out of my right eye. I'm legally blind in my right eye, but it's not correctable. But I see fine because my left eye is really good. And but here's what I was told: oh, you can't be a pilot because you don't have perfect vision. Well, I said, oh, okay. So I believe that, and that limited me in certain areas of my life. So you gotta be really careful about what you believe, and you have to know some things about God's principles. Here's one that you really need to know if you're in business and you expect people to make cold calls. There's a spiritual principle that you're not going to break, and it's called sowing and reaping. Conditions, emotions, and circumstances that you put out there for other people are seeds in the ground that you sow. That's sowing. You can sow corn or you can sow other things. And I've had customers, well, let me back up. What you sow is going to come back to you in a different season and multiplied. That's the law of sowing and reaping. What you sow, you reap, multiplied in a different season, different time. So I've had company presidents hire me to help me teach their salespeople how to be proactive and how to make cold calls. And when I went and knocked on the door to get into place, go in the door, not knock, but just go in the front door, you ever seen those no soliciting signs? It isn't going to work. He's violating, that's a stronghold. And things that set themselves up against the laws of nature, spiritual laws that God set up. God is not going to be mocked. So the first thing I had to do is talk to the president about this. I said, listen, you're going to have to create an environment here where you allow people to cold call you, and you are nice and kind to them, and you listen to them. And if you don't need what they have, you just tell them, thank you for calling, but no, I'm not a prospect. Because that's the conditions and circumstances that you want to create for your salespeople. So if you're a no soliciting guy and you expect people to listen to you solicit, it isn't going to work because you got a stronghold. You believe something that's going against you. It's not true. You got to operate within the spirit realm and get in synchrony, synchronize yourself and understand these things. So you got to grow spiritually. You might think, well, I don't have time to deal with those people. Well, you need to make time if you expect your people to cold call. Another thing that salespeople do is if you're a salesperson and you have a tendency to shop around, ask people for discounts, lie to them, hide from them, not be open, upfront, and honest. When you are the prospect, if you behave that way, you're going to have a lot of that behavior come back to you multiplied when you're the salesperson, because those are conditions that you're creating. So I always suggest to salespeople, hey, listen, if you're a shopper, stop shopping. Figure out what you want. You come up with a budget that you're willing to pay, and then go out there and look for somebody that you trust and give them what they ask for. Because you may ask for a discount, and yeah, you may save some money here, but it's going to cost you a whole lot more money on the other side. The other thing is you're going to have a whole lot of empathy. You're going to have a whole lot of empathy for the person who is shopping you because you are them. Okay, so these are strongholds, and these thinking and thought processes are strongholds, beliefs that limit you and hold you back. So consider changing what you believe, go act differently, and sow what you want to reap. If you want to reap shoppers, then sow shopping, go shop. But I don't think anybody wants to reap. I want to deal with a bunch of shoppers. Hey, listen, I hope this video helped you. And if you think I can help you change the way you think, change your behavior, and get better results, reach out to me. Be glad to talk to you. Hey, thank you, and God bless.